Good morning. How we doing? So the plan was for me to come to church today and like practice my drum parts because I'm playing drums this coming week, and I'm actually playing the week after that too. So that's exciting. But anyway, it's kind of where I'm at. So I'm excited. It's gonna be a good day. See you in a minute.
Alrighty, let's do this. So it's kind of like a really busy, it's like a very big editing day. Tomorrow too, actually this week. But either way, I'm very excited about today. The time has come for me to answer all of your questions. I don't know why I'm doing it. So there's a lot of you and a lot of questions that came in. I'm going to do my best to do a rapid fire Q&A right now and answer as much of them as I can, as quickly as I can. Here's the thing though, some of your questions were incredible. Some of them were so good that they deserve literally an episode to themselves. So I will do that. So if I don't get to your question in this particular episode, do not worry. I'm most likely saving it so I can get to use it because there's so much detail in the answer that I feel like it deserves its own episode. But at the same time, some of them I'll answer them really quickly and I'll let you know that I'll be making a video on it as well. So let's try and get through as much of these as I can. Again, I'm gonna do as much as I can, mainly because I don't want this episode to be an hour long. Okay, so first things first, settings for your Rode mic. I usually keep it on 0 dB. Sometimes I put it on 10 for music and for things that are louder than that, 20 if I really wanna get something that's kind of far away or whatever. And I usually have it on number 75 for the Video Mic Pro Plus 2. Is there a 2 version? I have the newest Rode mic, so whatever that is. Usually 0 dB is where I keep it at. Top 5 bands and artists. Oh boy, I'm bad at this. Will you guys have an open house at your new office? So down to see it. Dude, so down to have you. Yes, we will be having one. When? I don't know, but it's coming. Can I dog sit Everett? Absolutely not. Just kidding. Ariane, of course you can. He freaking loves you. How often does your worship team rehearse for a Sunday? Once. Well, twice. We have one on Thursday night at 7 o'clock and then one at 7:30 in the morning on Sunday before our services happen. So technically twice. Do you do any personal videos besides YouTube, Scaling Creative, and 4LC Studios? What do you mean by personal videos? I guess no, because I do it for usually only those 3 things. So I think the answer is no, but I'm not sure what the question is. What lens do you use most? 25mm, well, the Olympus 25mm 1.2. Do the pros of filming with an external monitor outweigh the cons? Well, I personally think that the final product of what you can get out of your camera is the most important. So I would assume that the answer is yes, or not, it's not a yes or no question. I think the pros outweigh the cons. Yes. White balance help to get rid of the yellow look that you get from inside of a church. I'm a Sony user. Just don't film weddings in churches. Easy. Just kidding. There's a couple things you can do. That's kind of a tough question. I might have to do a video on that. But you can check your Kelvin level. So obviously the lower you go without getting unnatural look out of it, the lower you go, the more blue it's gonna become. Inside of that, I forget what it's properly called, but you can check your color and you can move away from yellow into blue. Make sure you have a good exposure and all that. If you can light things, even better. But if not, sometimes you have to make do and then work on your post color process. GlideCam or cranes? I've never personally used a GlideCam. Scott has, so he would say GlideCam. I personally like cranes. What memory cards do you use? SanDisk, 128 gig. 95 MB, something like that. How often do you ride your boosted board? Never. Ever since I broke my collarbone and almost broke my ankle, I've quit. I still have it though. I might sell it if I can get it working again. So if you're interested, let me know. What hair product do you use? I currently use Layrite Matte Finish. I think that's what it's called. Go-to coffee order. If it's cold out, I usually get a vanilla latte, kids temp if I'm at Starbucks. And then if it's hot out, I usually get an iced coffee, vanilla flavored or hazelnut flavored, depending on the place. How old are you? 25. Would you get a PC in the future? Probably not. Funny story about Scott. Oh boy. Funniest wedding story. Well, there's a funny wedding story about Scott, so I guess I can tell that one real quick. We were filming a wedding, we were in a church, and if you've ever been to a wedding, they have these really tall glass, vases, I guess, that they put kind of scattered all the way down the aisle and all that. So one time Scott was kind of just moving backwards ever so slightly and in the midst of the quietest part of the ceremony, he knocked one over, and it was the biggest one, and it was just the loudest smash of glass you could ever imagine. And everybody was super startled, and naturally you just have to be kind of keep doing your job, but everybody's kind of looking at you, and I was all the way on the other side, and I was I don't know that guy. Reasons you switched from Sony to Lumix? That's a lot to answer right there. I put a video out about that actually on Wedding Film School with Scott, and we talked about the advantages of Lumix. At any rate, it's on Wedding Film School. I'll put the link in the description below. Stories behind the tats. I have a lot of them, and I have a lot of stories behind each of them, so I will make a video about that, I promise. Why the F is my Facebook friend request still effing pending? What gimbal do you use? For work, we use currently a Ronin S, and then at home I have, for like vlogs and all this stuff, I have a, what's it called? Zhiyun Crane 2, I think it's the second. How do you get more mood for editing documentary video? Oh boy, there's a lot that goes into that. I definitely will make a video on it, but story is king. It's the most important thing when it comes to documentaries. If the budget wasn't an issue, what camera would you buy for weddings? That's a good question. For weddings, honestly, I like what we have. Lumix GH5s are incredible, but for commercial work, I think I would definitely mess around with like Arri Alexas or something like that. I think that'd be just cool to try out. Maybe a red, I don't know. Favorite and least favorite parts of a wedding day to film? Ooh boy. Favorite part? I really like groom preps. That's like my thing. I like taking a groom prep and making it look super, super dramatic and like cinematic. So that's my favorite probably. And also time with the couple is fun. And the least favorite, probably like cake cutting. It's 'cause we never really use it. And it's like, how hard is it to daily vlog? Do you keep editing simple? Daily vlogging can be very difficult because especially when you're a busy person, you know, there's a lot to it. But at the same time, I think it's the only way to vlog, because well, not the only way to vlog, but like it's a great way to vlog because it keeps you creative every single day. So I love daily vlogging, and there are times where yes, I'll keep it very simple with editing, but there's a lot of times where I don't because I want to use YouTube as a way to practice. So is it hard? Yeah, it's hard, you know. You have to give up sleep and time with friends and things like that, but I think it's fun. What settings do you have on your GH5 and specs on your computer for smooth editing? Whoa. I think I just answered this question a little while ago, but I have a video on it for GH5 settings. Again, link in the description. And then specs on your computer, I have a 2016 or 17 Mac 15-inch with all the stuff souped up to like the highest that you can get it. So Final Cut works great on that. So that's how I have smooth editing, I guess. What are some tips for making a documentary? Okay, yeah, clearly you guys want to know about that. I'll make a video on that, I promise you. How do you organize your Final Cut projects, events, and libraries? Oh boy. For vlogs, I don't, because I delete the project every single time. So I keep a library called Vlog Season 2, which is the season that I'm currently in right now for this vlog. And then that's my library. And then underneath that, would you say events? I just create the event for like the day that I'm in, and then the project for the specific episode that I'm in as well. So that's kind of what I do for vlogs. For our work, it's completely different. It's actually something that I don't do. Scott does that, and we keep everything incredibly organized. I might have to ask if either him or I could make a video on that, or maybe we could both do that. But for vlogs, I don't. I just delete it after I'm finished. What's the best platform for advertising yourself online, especially if you're an artist? Instagram, I think. How do you balance your schedule as a worship leader and also with business? Day to day. It's not easy. I definitely sacrifice a lot so that I can do a lot. I'll probably make a video on the more detailed version of that answer, but try and do it day to day is the short answer. Have you ever thought about working at a church full time? I have, but I probably won't, unless God called me to it. But the answer is yes, I have, but I'm currently not looking to do that at all. Part-time and serving works great for me. Where does your sunny disposition come from? Oh, that's a nice question. Well, the real answer is Jesus, because ever since he's come into my life, everything has changed and my heart is just always joyful. Like genuinely. On the other hand, my dad is like the nicest guy you could ever meet. Probably like my dad, I guess, is kind of where it came from. But definitely Jesus is like the main thing. How do you get new clients as a young video production company outside of weddings? Produce your own content. That is a great video that I will definitely make something on for sure, but it's produce your own content because that is how everybody so far has found us as a video production company, and it just keeps on coming. Produce your own content. That's the answer to that. Oh, and don't stop. Be consistent. Least favorite color? Brown. How did you get started in video? That's another big question. I have a video on it actually. I think it's literally called How I Got Started in Video Production, I think, something like that. I'll put it in the description below. Do you think doing video is better in a smaller town or a larger town? I currently live in one of the largest cities in the US, and there's a lot of competition. Interesting. I don't really know the answer to that question. I think it's really dependent on you and what you want. But obviously, naturally, if you live in a larger town, the budgets for the people that you're dealing with are gonna be bigger, but naturally there's more people, which means more competition. For us at Scaling Creative, we don't pay attention to our competition. Like, we know that they're there, I guess, but like I at the same time, I don't really even know who's out there. Like we don't really look at our competition. We just do our thing. For us, we live on the outside of two major cities, New York and Philadelphia, which each of them are about an hour away. So we live on a little bit on the outside of major towns, and we go in and do that. So I don't know. That's a good question though. Any special story behind your tattoos? I've noticed Roman numerals on your leg. I'll make a video on my tattoos use, but the Roman numerals for quick answer is the top one means no alcohol for life, then it means no drugs for life, the second one, and then the third one is no sex until marriage. I'm married, so that is obviously out the window. But I did not have sex before marriage. I've never had drugs in my life or taken drugs, and I've never drank. So that's what that means. And there's lots of stories behind the other ones as well. So no, I'm not in porn, and it's not the number 30. As a colorist, how much benefit is it to use 10-bit? We've used 10-bit before, but you have to create proxies for that because the files are huge. So it definitely, you get more information and your color looks incredible, but kind of a nuisance to work with, and 8-bit works just fine in our opinion. So that's what we use currently for everything that we do. What type of arrangements do you guys have for retainer clients from Scaling Creative? Oh boy, that's a long question. It's very, very client specific, so I'll make a video about that. For weddings, do you shoot 8-bit or 10-bit? 8-bit. When you play lead electric at church, how do you learn the parts? Do you try to be more musical, quote unquote, or sound exactly like the recording? For me, I learn everything by ear. I actually don't read any music. But if I'm having issues with some parts, sometimes I'll look at the YouTube just to see like what the actual guy is doing, just to hear and see where his fingers are at, that kind of thing. It's kind of a bit of both. I would say here at our church, we definitely try to shoot more so for the recording and less the musical side of it, but I kind of add a little bit of both. Have you ever read Pagan Christianity? Highly recommend it. I haven't, but I can. Currently studying systematic theology with my wife. That's like a huge thing on our plate right now, so that's a really big book. Once we finish through that, I'll take a look at that. Would you use Final Cut even if you didn't work with Scott? Why or why not? Definitely. Final Cut's faster and easier to use. Name some of your favorite bands. Oh gosh. I don't know. Right now I listen to a lot of worship music because I do worship. I would say one of my absolute favorite bands is The Story So Far. They're like a pop punk type band, and I've always loved them. They've always been my favorite, but the real answer is I listen to literally everything. Like, there's no way for me to like gauge it. So non-Christian music is probably The Story So Far, and for Christian music, I would say probably Elevation Worship is like my favorite right now. Do you and your wife ever long to live in a larger city, like New York City, for example? Do you and your wife ever long to live in a large city, like New York City, for example?
I long for the cool breeze of the countryside.